the Yamaha Tyros 2. I want to take this opportunity to explain to you something of the process of recording that I do, that you can hear on this website, all of the, well, hundreds now, of tracks. You know, it would be good for you to know how it works and how I work and why it works really well for me. Okay, so, you know, at the outset, I have to say, I am not technically minded at all. You know, all those knobs and twiddles in studios, I mean, I have tried, but it's just not me. I just find it so frustrating. I have tried with Cubase and, you know, and I ask lots of questions when I'm in a studio and I like to learn. But it just does my head in. I cannot get round it. So I've given up on it and leave that to everybody else and other geniuses. Now, the story of the Tyros 2 is just brilliant. It goes back to 2007, and it was really the new year, the turn of the year. And I just woke up really one morning with this desire, think down the music shop, down to Williams that it was then, and buy a keyboard on which I can compose. Because, you know, for all the years I've had very poor, virtually non-existent, rubbish equipment that I've recorded on. I mean, just bouncing from one cassette player to another. Honestly, was one of my best ever recordings. There was more hiss than music. But there you go. But, you know, musical ideas. It was stunning in Liverpool at Edna's. Spent all night doing it until she shouted down at me to shut up. Because it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. Fair enough. So anyway, 2007. The 2nd of January, you know, the first day the shops were open, I went down and I can remember talking to the lad and he said, well, there's this and that, but then he said, this is the big mama of them all. And he showed me this Yamaha Tyros 2 and it looked great and the sounds were superb. Great piano sound, guitar sound was just unbeatable, and drums and various things. So, well, I just knew it was the right thing to do. I had to do it. I just knew, I know that time, that moment, and this was it. So I bought it. Well, I bought it on credit. But I knew I had to have it, and I got it. And then 2007, well, you know, 1 or 2 adventures in Los Angeles. Came back and, well, a dear friend of mine, bless her, gave me £1,000, but I knew it was a loan, and I did pay her back. You know, happily I said that I managed to wangle it, so that £1,000 basically paid for the keyboard. But it actually cost me £2,700 because I bought the keyboard, the stand, the proper speakers, the lot, and the external hard drive for it. So, you know, it was a very expensive piece of kit. So I didn't do too much at first, but when I came back from America, really was when I got going in May 2008, and I just exploded. I spent 3 months on it and just composed tons of stuff and recorded tons of stuff. It was like 8 hours a day. I'd go out for coffee at the Imperial Express for the morning and then record all day until about 4 o'clock, have a break, go back down, have a latte, read a book or something, and then do some more recording. So it was just a phenomenal 3-month, you know, marvellous experience, all of which you can hear on the website. So what is it about a Tyros 2 then? Okay, what it is this. What you need to know is I can't, you know, edit out a wrong note, you know, add something. I can't. It has to be basically a live recording from beginning to end. So usually what happens with the drums is I'll play the piano, you know, and sort out the drum tracks, because in order to get a drum fill I have to press a button. So every time you hear a little fill or a change in the drum beat, I have to press a button whilst playing the piano to do that. and it has to. Sometimes it can be very complicated and complex, and I have to get the right button, press the right button at the right moment to sort of get the right feel for the track. So that's quite something in itself. But once it's done, that's great. Then I will add other instruments over the top, other layers, you know, and I can't just record from halfway through. Well, I can, but every time you re-record over the top, it loses some of its quality. It deteriorates, and you can hear this in versions of recordings. Not only that, but the more layers you add over the top, the more the original layers start to sort of get quieter in the mix. So often what happens is the drums get quieter and quieter, and the latest takes become louder because they're the newest takes. So there's a really delicate balancing act that I have to try to achieve on the recordings. And if I'm not careful, it just sort of loses the balance. Oftentimes the bass that I put on it just ends up being pretty quiet, especially if it's the acoustic string bass. So on a track like As Good As It Gets, the last thing I did was re-record the bass. And unless I write out note for note the bass line, there's going to be some little discrepancies, as there are on that track, and it's the one thing really, but you can hear that. It's just the way it is. These aren't final sellable tracks, although I try very hard to make them as good as I can. They're demos containing my musical ideas that build up. So, basically you need to know, all of you watching this, I have to play at the top of my game. I have to use every ounce of my musicality on these recordings because, they're like a live recording from beginning to end. I have to do everything. Let me talk about the endings of tracks. When I do the first track with drums and piano, or drums and guitar, usually it's piano, there's a button I can press that does a gradual fade out, which is very useful. Okay. No problem there. After that, every instrument I put on top, I have to play the fade. Not only do I play the arrangement, whatever is through the song, at the end I have to play the fade and actually get quieter in my playing because the keyboard doesn't do it. I mean, it's incredible. Some of the endings of tracks that I've got, you wouldn't believe they are so difficult and take so much, just one note too hard, one extra chord, it just spoils it. So some of the endings, really, I'm very proud of them. You wouldn't believe, honestly, you just have to be there to see, and honestly, but there you go. This is what I put in to my recordings, and it's good that you know these things, because other you just wouldn't know. You just think, oh, it all fades out by the machine. It flippin' well does not. And as I said to you, the original drum track over time fades, and the later stuff I put on top is louder, so it's very delicate, and I have to play each instrument. Think guitar. When you hear a guitar, sounding track, yes, I play it on the keyboard, it's played with these hands, but I have to play it as a guitar would play. Saxophone, I have to play as a saxophone would play. The brass, I'm a brass player, I'm a trombone player, I have to play as a brass instrument would, and a brass section would play. All of these things are what I've learned over a lifetime to do. And you just might listen to any of these tracks and think, that's all right. I can assure you, and I want to assure you, that, the level of musicality that I have had to put, my musical judgment, to the nth degree, as we say. So, God blimey, I'm worn out just thinking about it. I'm worn out telling you about it. But I've been wanting to do this, you know, so that you know what goes into these tracks. I mean, some of these, God blimey. So, okay, I do a basic track. If I know I'm onto something good, if I've done a good drum track, what I do is I save that track and I copy it, right? And I put that track on my computer and it exists as a separate file. Then, if it's, let's say I put a guitar over the top of the piano, right? If I'm really happy with it, I then copy that guitar track, which is now the second recording, and put that on my computer and make sure I have a copy of it on the Tyros. Then I'll add a third layer and maybe a fourth layer, and maybe I'll then sing some lyrics or something and then add strings. You know, I can tell you, I think on Emmanuel, on the Ecclesiastical Funk track, I've got 11 layers that, you know, and I really probably should put them on the Ecclesiastical Funk song page, to let you hear the build-up. You can hear for yourself. And those tracks, when I came back from Los Angeles, I put, you know, an infinite amount of care into those tracks. So Emmanuel, Ecclesiastical Funk Around the World, some of the others, you know, even in all the years since, they really are the most professional recordings that I have. The balance in those tracks and the amount of stuff and amount of recording and just incredible amount. I think you get the idea, you get the point. So the Tyros for me is the best form of recording for me. You know, I have no idea what the arrangement of these tracks is going to be. How can I possibly imagine it? I can just play what I play, but then I listen. And for example, some particularly, say, good piano part, I'll leave that alone, and that becomes like a little solo part or something, and then I build and layer the tracks and the sounds around, and then after I've added a layer, then the next layer is, you know, is added to that, and it's shaped. That's how I shape the arrangements. And I remember that's what the lad at Williams said, you know, this is, a Tyros 2 is an arranging keyboard. So it allows me to create these, hopefully, wonderful arrangements in a huge variety of styles that I can write. I mean, I haven't even mentioned the strings yet. You know, I've got one favourite string part, the studio strings. And you know, I love the sound because it sort of fades in gradually and doesn't hit you in the face. I love that. But let me tell you this. That string part takes about a beat and a bit to hear it fully. So that means that in order that when you hear my string part coming in at the beginning of the bar, I had to start playing that chord or that part earlier, before the bar. I had to play it before, so by the time it's meant to be heard properly, there it is. And I'm telling you, I've had to play most of those string parts, if I've really gone to town and done them properly, I've had to play them each time you hear a change, like early. I did. I'm telling you, it's the truth. I'm only telling you, you know, what I've learned and what goes into these demo recordings. You know, a lifetime of music, of skill, tremendous amount of skill, you know, goes into everything that I've done. You might not like it at the end of the day, you might not like the track or the style, but there's got to be something in all of these hundreds of tracks that I've done, you know, that you think is nice. The wonderful thing about the Tyros, it's in my home. I can put the headphones on, I can record at any time of day or night, not vocal tracks, because, you know, that's real time and real sound. But you know, the Tyros itself, it's just there. I can press the red button, press record and go and see what comes out. And, you know, it doesn't cost me a penny. You know, it's there, I've got it. I mean, there's a Tyros 5 now. You know, it now, the latest version is about £4,000. It's got an extra octave now. I mean, it's only like, if you imagine a piano, the range of a piano, 88 notes. You all know what the length of a piano. My piano, my Tyros 2, has an octave less at the top and an octave less at the bottom. Just occasionally over the years, it's created a problem, but by and large, you know, I get by with it, and it does the job. I don't think I really need the latest model. I mean, I'm paying virtually £3,000 for the website, so that's more important to me. I don't really need to upgrade. I love the sounds that it has. Makes me, you see, the quality of those sounds on that Tyros make me play at my best. The string sounds fantastic, the piano, the brass, the guitar, the bass sounds, the saxophone sounds, you know, it's enough for me. And I just play saxophone, I play guitar. I know how these instruments should sound. The one thing that I can't do really is actually crescendos. I sort of can make it happen on one or two tracks. It makes it sound like I'm playing it louder, but well, you know, I do my best. Hand on heart, I swear to you all, I have done my very best in all of these recordings. So what you hear is what it is, and everything I've said here on this little video applies to every tracker you can hear on the Tyros and on my website. Oh God, I need a latte after that. I've had one. As you can see, I'm going to be doing this. Maybe you can see. I'm reading Howard Schultz's book on the story of Starbucks, and I have an empty coffee cup. So, Tyros 2, fantastic. Thank you, Yamaha, for creating that keyboard. It's given me 8 years of just tremendous pleasure. Whatever happens with these recordings, it's just given me immense satisfaction, and I'm very proud of everything that I've done. Enjoy them for what they are. They're not the finished product. They contain my musical ideas and ideas for arrangements, and hopefully one day they'll be done properly and you'll hear really what they could be like. So, I'm going for a coffee. Bye for now. Tyros 2, thank you. Wonderful, wonderful instrument.